in few seconds. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear respected viewers, audience, participants. It is with great emotion that we welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the online volunteering training program of ICYF. On behalf of the Youth Forum, International Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, we are very pleased to have today for the opening ceremony our special guest, the president of ICYF, and our guest speaker and trainer for today's session. Before we kick off the session, let me introduce myself. My name is Idi Ahmed. I am your humble moderator. I come from the Republic of Cameroon. I'm a diplomat by profession and a professional officer at the Department of Foreign Affairs at ICYF. To this end, I cannot go on without thanking our special guest who spared no effort to reply at our request to be our first speaker for this illustrious training program. It is a feeling of pride, of course, that invades all of us at ICYF because a few months ago, we never imagined that we were going to launch a volunteering session on a virtual platform. But today, alhamdulillah, here we are. Distinguished guests, the program of today is actually articulated as follows. First and foremost, we shall have an opening remark by His Excellency Mr. Taha, President of ICYF. Thereafter, we shall proceed to the training session, which shall be conducted under the supervision of our special guest and trainer of the day. It should be noted that this session is oriented for 1 hour, 30 minutes. The trainer will have 35 to 50 minutes for her presentation, and the remaining minutes shall be reserved to the question and answer sessions. Exchange with the audience. We have a whole team that will identify your questions and ask. I shall read them as well, but if you want to directly speak to the speaker, please raise your hand. Just click on the button, raise hand, and inshallah, I will entertain you. For those of you who are facing communication issues, kindly type your questions and inshallah, I will read them. Kindly mute your respective mic during the session. This is to help us avoid interruptions during the training and to ensure that our internet data runs smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, as announced, we would like to invite the president of ICYF, His Excellency Taha Ayhan, to please come forward and deliver his speech. Mr. President, the stage is yours. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Eddie. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all participants. Dear esteemed speakers, young volunteers, I am most pleased and honored to be here with you all in this esteemed gathering. I would like to begin my statement by welcoming and thanking you all for joining us at the online volunteering training, which represents an opportunity for enhancing and endorsing the youth volunteering capacities and network. I would like to congratulate ICYF team for their brilliant arrangements and implementation of this significant program. Lastly, our privileged partners who are contributing our online volunteering training with their expertise, such as United Nations Volunteers, Turkish Red Crescent, Medicina, Special Direction, Global One, and Hamad bin Khalifa University. This successful cooperation is a solid basis for future strengthened partnership which serve the youth in the OIS geography. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the reasons why volunteering is important, it's not only about the impacts we can make in the lives of those less fortunate, but the role it can play in making us more tolerant individuals and giving towards the global community. Each of us should be willing to offer our own time and expect nothing in return. Sorry, I think there was a problem with the communication. Each of us should be willing to offer our own time and expect nothing in return. But the truth is that volunteering will bring a world of rewards you might never have expected. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to people." This is a wide gate open to us to earn immense rewards from Allah. Muslims before us in history understood the value of giving, of serving others, and expanding themselves and their wealth for the benefit of their communities. The coronavirus disease pandemic is placing significant strains on health systems, essential public services, and communities globally. OIC entities are working closely with national governments, community groups, the health sector, and industry to respond to this crisis with a multi-sectoral, equitable, and human rights focused approach. Also, UNV invites skilled professionals to support the United Nations system's response as national UN volunteers. Join efforts to mitigate the economic, social, and health impacts of this crisis and safeguard progress made towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And I also want to highlight some efforts of the Turkish Red Crescent, which we are also witnessing their efforts all around the world, from Indonesia to the Balkans, from Africa to the Middle East and CIS countries. We all have an interest in seeing youth succeed. Regular access to civic engagement opportunities can lead to better outcomes for children, young adults, and their communities. Youth who volunteer are more likely to perform better in school and work and become civically active adults. Youth who volunteer regularly practice skills like collaboration and problem solving that are vital to succeed in academics, the workplace, and their personal lives as well. Whether it's collecting donations or caring for the elderly, youth develop an understanding of citizenship that extends into adulthood. Plus, volunteering helps youth fill their resumes with real world experience. That's why colleagues and employers look for civically engaged applicants who will thrive in team settings and take on challenging work. For example, if we take ICYF as an example, in our team now, starting from the Mr. ED, we have several people who have very successful volunteering past in their CVs. Ladies and gentlemen, as ICYF, we always tried our best to encourage youth volunteerism and share the best practices of it for betterment of our communities. Allow me to give you some examples of our past programs in which we successfully trained young volunteers from across the world. The OIC Young Volunteers Camp in Antalya was co-organized for young both males and females by ICYF, the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Republic of Turkey, Turkish Red Crescent, and AFAD on October 13 to 23rd of 2019. 100 OIC youth participants and representatives of Muslim communities in non-OIC member states attended the program. In the framework of Doha OIC Youth Capital 2019 and in partnership with the Ministry of Culture and Sports of State of Qatar, Qatar Red Crescent, Youth Media Center, and Qatar Cultural and Heritage Events Center, ICYF organized the Doha Volunteering and Qatar Cultural and Heritage Events Center organized Doha Volunteering and Humanitarian Aid Youth Camp between 28th of October to the 6th of November 2019. A number of 86 young volunteers from over 53 OIC countries participated in an intensive training program in the field of disaster management and humanitarian work. I wish we had organized this online camp in person at a point in OIC geography, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are now organizing it in online, and I hope we will see different benefits from organizing this online program. Lastly, the ICYF implemented and supervised International Volunteers Forum of Islamic countries in cooperation with the Ministry of Youth and Sports of the Republic of Azerbaijan had taken place on 26th to 29th of February in 2020 in Baku, Azerbaijan. 72 international volunteers has been selected among 8,000 applications from 150 different countries. We will continue to do our best in the future for the encouragement of youth volunteerism towards creating global communities. The idea of the online volunteerism training is a significant step towards the establishment of OIC Young Volunteers network, which was adopted by Third and Fourth Islamic Conference of Youth and Sports Ministers of OIC to pursue and implement programs in different domains of intercultural dialogue, cultural rapprochement, and diversity. The aim of the network is to provide a sharing platform of experiences, lessons learned, and reflections on the role of volunteerism for young people, and to create a change starting from their own societies, and to highlight the values and principles we honor as change makers for a better future. Through the volunteer network, we look forward to discover the talented volunteerism ambassadors in the OIC region who reflect the positive model of the Muslim youth. Distinguished participants, we look forward to hearing from your good practices and experience. Also, don't forget to follow us to know about our future online programs during the pandemic. Before I conclude my speech, I once again congratulate all of you for sacrificing your own time and energy to gain skills and knowledge on volunteerism to give back your respected communities. I think during this COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of volunteerism has become more significant and more visible for everyone in the society. Also, I once again thank to our valuable partners which make this training possible by giving their time and efforts. I wish you all the best and success. I thank you all for your attention and participation.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for such a brilliant speech. I'm guessing the participants are happy to hear from you as you are launching this online voluntary session. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to mention that the main aim of the online volunteering training program is to equip young people with practical knowledge and guidance and support communities during pandemics, like His Excellency Mr. Taha mentioned. As we all know, we are all experiencing a full shutdown of our nation's economy on global stage due to the current pandemic COVID-19, which is wreaking havoc on all the social dimensions of our respective communities. Once again, we have observed that the solidarity of humans in the face of a common enemy. Many of you in your respective communities contributed one way or the other to reach out to those in need, of course, and to those who are the most vulnerable. However, much still needs to be done, especially at the level of our inclusion in our respective communities. Ladies and gentlemen, before we delve into the topic of today, we need to know what volunteerism is all about. One needs to understand who is a volunteer, and that's why the topic is focused on these few aspects. Before I give the floor to our guest speaker of today, allow me to say a few things about our speaker. Our speaker of today had her bachelor degree from the St. Mary's University, where she had a major degree in international development studies and minor degree in sociology. Afterwards, she pursued her master's degree at the Alta Doglu Technic University. She has an enriching experience both in academic field and corporate world. She started as an intern at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees branch office in Ankara, as well as the United Nations office. She has also occupied few positions like research assistant at her former university, sector assistant at the transport and infrastructure section at the delegation of the European Union to Turkey, project assistant with the WYG group, UN coordinator associate at the United Nations. The list goes on. If I decide to read all her credentials, I think we shall spend the whole day here because mashallah, she is very well resourced, and currently she is the country coordinator of the United Nations Volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, join me in welcoming Ms. Nim Memisoglu. Ms. Nim, the time and place is all yours. Thank you very much.
Mr. Idi, sorry for interruption, but I also want to express my sincere thanks to Ms. Nil Hanım for participating and sharing his speech. Thank you very much, Nil Hanım, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dear Idi and dear Taha, dear whole ICYF family, the volunteers, young volunteers, senior volunteers, it's a privilege to be here with you all. And I also want to say that we've been in contact with ICYF for the past 2 years but sometimes you just have to leave it to God. So everything has a time, and this was the time. That means that I have to be here, had to be online. And congratulations! I'm really thrilled to be part of your first online event, and thank you again for this opportunity and for the lovely introduction. Now I will be sharing my screen to show my presentation. And I know that everything is going to go so smooth because, they say the universe collaborates for those who wants to do good things. And are you able to see my screen, Idi Ahmed?
Yes, absolutely. I'm able to see your screen. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm keep receiving messages for that people are waiting in the waiting room.
Yes.
You're also receiving that, right?
Yes,
okay.
I am as well.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. There's no problem. Thank you.
So, well, I wanted to, before I start my the institutional presentation, which is full of UN jargon and numbers and results, I wanted to start with this very deep philosophical sentence, quotation from Tapduk Emre. I believe some of you have already heard of Tapduk Emre. He was the religious mentor of Yunus Emre, who was a Turkish poet. And Tapduk Emre lived in the same era with Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi in Anatolia. So this is my translation. This is not an official translation, and I hope it gives the message. He said that, filled with love, you shoulder the entire world. And without love, you are a dead man walking. Well, for those who understand Turkish, Turkish has a better meaning, I think, now. But so I wanted to start with this quote because when I read this, I just, this is one of the lines, quotes that really changed my life, or let's say my life became more meaningful because I was in the process and I am still searching for the meaning of my life. And I think this has a good, help. This had a good help to find my path, or just to say that I am on the right path, let's say. Maybe Idi had a good introduction of my life. Thank you so much again for that. But if you ask me how to define myself, perhaps the one word, if you tell me, to define myself, I would say empathy. Since I knew myself, I always had a high empathy. And I think empathy is the solution to all problems in the world now that we are facing. We just need to know what the others are missing and what the others are in need so that we can, help to them. But my world, when I also think, I was asking myself since I was little that how can I change this world, with my ideas. But then by age, that transformed into how can I change myself, actually improve myself to become better, to develop mindful habits so that I can, boost my productivity and I can be better contribute to the world. And this path, brought me to UN to study international development studies and sociology, and also brought me here to be with you all. And maybe in here I can also share one word from Yunus Emre. He said that I was clever and I wanted to change the world, but then I became wise and I wanted to change myself. So I think, thinking these quotations from Yunus Emre, from Tapduk Emre, and it will be better, to continue our path. And I will request you to keep these words in your mind throughout my presentation. Now, I will be starting my presentation, but before again going into deep dive into what is volunteerism and what UNV does, I want to ask a request from Süleyman to share a few questions now on the screen, because I don't have much idea about who is listening me, but I know I've been followed from social media, and you have an idea about me. So I request everyone to answer these questions before we start. The 7 questions, and Süleyman will be leading us here. Suleiman, I think we are on the track, right? Are we?
I believe that we are showing the results, not the poll itself. Yes, much better.
Able to choose answers.
Yes. And how many people have responded? Can you see that?
Yes, for now, 2, 3, 5, 4, 7, 8. It's going up. Like 16%, like 20% now. As soon as all answered, I will share the results as well.
Okay.
Can I share one thing?
Shall we continue now? Is it finished?
No, so far 70% of the 62%
Okay.
answered.
Can I ask one thing?
Yes, please.
Yes, I have an online account of UN Volunteer, but I think it's an account, but I don't know what is online account or normal account it is.
Yes, that's the question that I'm asking actually, if you ever registered to online volunteering or not.
Actually, I have account online account. I have account UNB volunteer account, but I don't know it is online account or is there any separation or differentiation?
Yeah, yes, the registrations, the profiles are two different things. One, you fill your profile on VMA to become a UN volunteer, and the second is an online volunteering platform, which is a separate platform. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So it's good. I think this is the almost the response that I was hoping to have. Of course, being a member to ICYF means a yes to the 7th question. Have you done? The fact that we are in Ramadan now, the zakat is probably another reason why the 5th question, the yes is higher. I'm so glad to see that almost above 50% of the participants have a volunteering legal framework in their country. So I will also be very happy to hear their know-how on this. All right, I think we're almost came to the 100%. So, and it tells the difference from of the answers are not going to change much. Just for the sake of the time, maybe we can end polling and continue with the presentation. What do you think? Yeah. So this is a very good feedback to me. Thank you so much for all the participants. We will be talking about the legal framework. So for those who don't know now, which is around 38%, we'll hopefully be able to find out what is happening in their country after our presentation. Okay. And also let me tell that at the end of my presentation, we will have another questionnaire, which is a bit related with my presentation. So I'll invite everyone to pay attention to the information that I share. Now, let's continue. what we are going to talk about. Well, besides the, the UN, as I said, the UN jargon, I will be also sharing some facts on volunteerism from UN volunteers, at the same time from other organizations, and I will slightly touch upon the online volunteering modality here, but it will be in detail presented to you in the coming days with my colleague from UN volunteers. We will be now, let's start with what and who is a volunteer. We all have an idea. We all, if I ask each one of you, you will come up with a one sentence, one word, and it will not be too different from each other. But to put it in a frame, we can say that this is a principle of donating your time, your expertise, and your energy with your free will for the benefit of the others. It can be environment, humans, anything that lives in this universe, as a social responsibility rather than for any financial rewarding. Well, of course, we can also go into a bit to the etymology of volunteer, because words have a history, and the origins of words inform us of their implications today. So I think it is important. And the word volunteer comes from the Latin word voluntarius, and it is originated from the Latin noun voluntas, meaning the will or desire. And also maybe another information for everyone. The first English language use of the word volunteer was from a poem of Arthur and of Merlin from the 1300s. And also there is a French definition of volunteer, is volontaire. And there is a definition to volunteerism, actually a word define volunteerism in Turkish as well, which is gönüllü. Gönül means from your heart. And when we look into the first, when it was mentioned, it takes us to Divan-ı Lügat-ı Türk, the first dictionary in the world, from 1072. In the Divan-ı Lügat-ı Türk, it mentions about giving others and helping others to define volunteerism. And I will also appreciate, if you can share the meaning of volunteerism, volunteer in your own words in the chat box. So now, before we go into more deep of the volunteerism and the benefits of volunteer to an individual, I want to show this animation to you. I think it really explains volunteerism at best. So I request 2 minutes of yours now to watch this animation. Yes, I see there is a hand raised. Shall we take the questions now, or?
It's up to you. Do you think
Okay.
you want to like communicate with the audience during your presentation, or you prefer to finish the presentation and then we move to the questions?
Yes, I'm told to take the questions at the end, but why not take this question now? I'm fine with it.
The stage is yours. It's all yours. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. So, but now I cannot see the hand anymore. I apologize. But so, can you see Idi the hand, or shall I will continue then?
Yes, I think.
Okay. Okay. I cannot see the hand now. So this video, this animation gives many symbols and shows how the change at one's life, before and after volunteering. And now, yes, I saw the hand again. Enes, can I please go ahead?
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Yes.
My question is volunteerism. As we have watched the video now, that is the cartoon. It is showing us helping somebody by the roadside, like doing petty goods without expecting any payment. That is what we call volunteerism, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I want to ask people who go to the extent of doing other things, that is with a concern of a full society or national issue or anything that is of the society support, but not expecting payment, but let's say some support from the leaders. Can we also classify that as volunteerism?
Frankly speaking, I very hardly heard your question. So at the end, you said that can we also name volunteering with paid?
Not actually payment, but let's say some support from some higher authorities. For instance, like UN, like this, you acting as a UN volunteer and you are in charge of
Thank you so much. Yes, now it is clear. Thank you. So I will be talking about these in the next slides. You will be hearing the answer. So now maybe I will listen to organizers and take the questions at the end of the presentation, so that I will request you to either type the questions in the chat box or keep it to the end, the last 25 minutes, please. So now the volunteerism. Again, let's talk about volunteerism, and then I will also be able to respond to the question that just came up. Volunteerism, it means action, as we also saw from the animation, and it's a powerful means of engaging people in tackling development challenges. And it can also transform the pace and the nature of development. And volunteerism benefits both the society and large individual volunteer communities. It's strengthening trust, it builds communities, bring together, creates solidarity. And of course, can I request you to unmute yourself, please? Al Hassan. So, and according to a recent study in UK, which will also now, I want to give an echo to what Taha Bey mentioned in his presentation, in his opening speech. So according to a recent study in UK, children who volunteer before age 10 volunteer 2 times more in the longer run than those who first start experience volunteering at the age of 16 and 18. So it is very important to start volunteering, experience this at early ages. And the best way to initiate to start volunteering is through family, and second is through the teachers, through school. And according to Alfred Adler, who was a physician, psychotherapist, and founder of Adler psychology, sometimes called as individual psychology, because he is the one who conceived the first community psychology in the world, said that in order to live a meaningful life, one should contribute to its community. And it also brings us to the term terminology to the term of Ubuntu, this philosophy. And again, now in here, I want to give an emphasis on this, what Alfred Adler said, from a research done by World Giving Index in 2019 to helping a stranger study. And according to that study, average of like almost 50% of the adults help stranger in their own community. And 7 of the 10 countries where people are most likely to help a stranger in their community are from Africa. So this is also not a coincidence that Ubuntu is part of that culture. And these countries are Liberia, Sierra Leone, Kenya, Zambia, Uganda, and Nigeria. Now, let's give a bit more numbers, again, the facts from the motivation behind volunteering. The primary reason for volunteering, according to research done by Turkish, the Third Sector Foundation based in Turkey, is personal pleasure. And it followed by opportunity to meet with new people and satisfaction from addressing people's needs. And the list goes on like that. Now, this is a report conducted by UN volunteers. And I will be talking about the details of State of World Volunteerism report in next week. But now I want to just, give a few facts from this report. So according to this report, The Thread That Binds Us, which is a UN flagship publication on volunteerism, and this is the 3rd in the series published, we advocate for the role of volunteerism and it is fact and it is important contribution to peace and development. The evidence presented in this report is based on research in 15 communities around the world with over 1,200 research participants. According to this report, we collect new evidence on how local community volunteerism and resilience interact in the context of resilient building. And it is launched in 2018 during the high-level political forum in New York by the UNDP administrator. As I said, I will be sharing the facts, but just want to take a few minutes to guide you through the key points. Scale of global volunteering. Providing a snapshot of global volunteering is a very complex and challenging issue due to the data gaps. But this report presents the most comprehensive global estimates produced to date from national statistical agencies. And accordingly, there are more than 1 billion volunteers in the world, and it equals to the 109 million full-time workers. To put that into a context, I can say that the volunteer workforce, this 109 million workforce, is nearly 3 times the number employed globally in the financial services, and it is 5 times those working in mining and extractive industries. Well, this is a huge resource for peace and development, and of course for resilience, and of course for the 2030 agenda. So in fact, the vast majority of volunteers that we just mentioned are actually doing their volunteering through informal. So the 70% does not involve in any organization, but happens directly between people and in their community. They, regardless of engage with a civil society organization, they contribute to the society. And in here, I also, since these numbers are important, I also want to mention the economical impact of volunteering as well. So in addition to the social impact of volunteering, the economic impact should also not be underestimated. Maybe just another research from Johns Hopkins University done together with ILO, International Labour Organization, in 2012. According to their research, I'll give an example, for instance, from Canada. It estimates that the support of the volunteers and the volunteering organizations to the economy, to the GDP, is more than the automotive sector and the agriculture sector. So this also gives, how the volunteering is important for economical reasons as well. Another now fact from our report: globally, women take on the majority of volunteer work, around 57%. I would like to give a last fact from another research from the Global Index report. Around 1 in 5 adults around the world volunteer over the past decade. So in here, Sri Lanka has the highest rate of volunteering, as you can see. And each year, an average of around 7 million people volunteer their time in Sri Lanka. It is nearly half of those age 15 in their country. And second place is Turkmenistan, which has frequently been ranked #1 for volunteering due to widespread of its sometimes mandatory practice called subontnik. And it means that giving up Saturday to perform unpaid labor. And then Myanmar, United States, and Liberia, they occupy the 3rd place in the top 5. Maybe one more fact from Myanmar. Myanmar also has the highest score in the world for donating money with 81%. And the country has frequently held the top spot for donating money, but due to some political and social crisis, the numbers are dropping now. I am very happy to share these numbers and this country's list with you, because unfortunately there is a tendency and misinterpretation and also stereotypes by some about neglecting these countries' efforts in volunteering. In many of the researches, you can see numbers from the northern part of Europe or from more Western countries with the high rank volunteering numbers. But so hence these estimates are very important to know and to acknowledge. So now who we are. Let's talk about UN volunteers. We are, well, UN volunteers is established in 1970. We are administered by UNDP. And according to the 1976 UN General Assembly, UN volunteers is considered to be a major operational unit of the UN for the execution of youth programs. Our headquarters is in Bonn, Germany, and we have 6 regional offices. And for the Arab region, it is under the leading of Amman Regional Office. We have, this is the 2018 number, 7,000 UN volunteers on site. However, with the 2019 volunteers, it is about 8,200. Olivier Adam is the executive coordinator since 2017. And what is the mission of and vision of UN volunteers? Our vision and mission, let's say, is to create a world where volunteerism is recognized and valued within the societies as a way for all people and countries to achieve peace and development in reaching the 2030 agenda. And in order to reach our goals, UN volunteers in 57 field units, as myself, I am based in Turkey, Ankara field office, and more than 150 countries, working closely with the governments, with the civil society organizations, academia, citizens, to create an enabling environment for volunteerism. And in Turkey, I'm very proud to say that we are under the leadership of Ministry of Youth and Sport, we declared 2019 as a year of volunteerism. And this, of course, followed up with many achievements, many, policy documents and strategy documents in Turkey. The membership to civil society organizations have increased after the declaration of Year of Volunteerism. And volunteerism is included in the National Development Plan. So these kind of achievements, the acknowledgements by the government is very important. And another role of UN Volunteers program is to mobilize volunteers to the UN agencies. And here is just one historical picture from UNV. UNV has recruited its first 35 UN volunteers to serve in different countries like Chad, Bangladesh, Republic of Yemen, to serve in different UN agencies. And this picture is from one of the first UN volunteers in 1972 by Mr. Yoshikazu Ito. And there's another picture there is from the 2017. He joined to the International Volunteering Day in 2017 in Japan. As I said, we have over 8,000 UN volunteers as of 2019 from 162 nationalities, working in 54 UN entities from 154 countries. And when we look to the this map, the 50% of the volunteers, of 8,280 volunteers, are from Sub-Saharan Africa, are actually, deployed in Sub-Saharan African countries. So what we do as UN volunteers, and it is now coming to the again question that's been shared by our participant. As I said, UN volunteers work with partners to integrate qualified, highly motivated UN volunteers into development program and also promote the value and the global recognition of volunteerism. We have different modalities in doing so. Community volunteers, youth volunteers, expert volunteers, online volunteers, both national and international volunteers. And in order to become one of these volunteers, you will first have to register your profile on volunteer management application module. And after filling your applications in this module, you will be eligible to see and check the opportunities, the UNV job openings, vacancies through the unv.org website. And now I will go to the previous slide again, the UNV modalities. Let's talk about the modalities themselves a bit to give a better idea to those who don't know about UNV program. For instance, starting with the community volunteers. So community volunteers are part of an integrated talent solution of UNV to bring local expertise to development and peace solutions. The community volunteers are working in their own communities, and with the requirement to become a community volunteer is you just have to be 18 plus, and the basic education is required, and you don't need to know any of the official UN languages in order to become a UN volunteer. So this is the only modality that allows the citizens to be part of the UN system to support the 2030 agenda. Other than this, we have expert volunteers. Who are the expert volunteers? These experts cover a wide variety of highly specialized technical fields, and you need to have a 15-year of work experience in order to become an expert volunteer. Besides this, we have youth volunteers. For youth volunteers, it is 18 to 29-year-old. You don't need to have a work experience. After your graduation, you can fill the profile in VMAM and start applying to the job offers there. And for the specialist, the UN specialist, there is no upper age limit. Minimum is for national volunteers 22, and for international UN volunteers, the minimum requirement age is 25. As I said, there is no upper limit. And UN volunteers, different than the volunteers, have an income, and they receive volunteer living allowances. And by volunteer living allowance, what we mean is the volunteers' health insurance covered by the UNV modality contract. Their learning allowance is also included in their volunteer contract. And there are also other entitlements to cover their needs during their contract. And as well as after their contract, they also receive resettlement living allowance. So I want to again mention this VMAM portal of UNV. If you want to become a UN volunteer one day, the first step is to do so is to fill your profile through this. And as a second step, follow the vacancies that are shared on UNV website. From here, you can also search your needs according to the country, region, and language skill and duration. I also want to share these two platforms with you, which is a great opportunity for everyone. It's available to all registered users to VMAM. By becoming a registered user of VMAM, you become eligible to benefit from these online resources to build your application, for instance, your CV, to prepare your UNV interviews. These are all free, and you can benefit from these additional sources. Just to note that there are no certificates for these courses, but you can also contact the external learning platforms for IT and help desk when you enter this platform. You just need to have an access to eCampus, and as I said, register your profile on eCampus. And you need to have a UNV roster after you become a member of the UNV portal. And digitalization, and one of the results of digitalization, of course, online volunteering, and the name of today's event is also online volunteering. Well, volunteering itself is a changing and evolving thing itself, and the change of nature of work and technology, you know, we come to a stage that that through this actually processes, we may free up more time for individuals to volunteer in new waves of forms. So besides, you know, on-site volunteering, besides the informal and community volunteering, we can also ensure, you know, to give our support to the community through online volunteering. And online volunteers are very diverse. The high-skilled professionals also from private sector are part of the online volunteering platform. 58% of the users are women. The average age is 30, between 18 and 76. And there are also people, the people with disability, around 2% are also member of the online volunteering platform. What is good to know is it is a free platform which is initiated by UNV program. I want to now take you to this video, again a 2-minute video to explain you how it works, and then we will continue.
You can contribute to the world's most important issues without barriers of time and place. All you need is a device, a connection, some of your time, and above all, passion. Volunteering opportunities that suit your skills are just a few clicks away. Sign up now and start your online volunteering journey. Tell us about yourself and make sure to fill in all parts of the registration form. By now, you will have received an email in your inbox with a link to activate your account. You must click on the link to finish signing up and become part of the online volunteering community. And what's next? Start exploring available online volunteering opportunities. You can create filters to be informed by email about interesting new opportunities. You can also save an opportunity for later so that you can review the needs of the organization more carefully and decide if you have what it takes to apply. Don't think too long, however. Organizations might close opportunities within a matter of hours because they quickly attracted enough applications to choose from. You have found a good opportunity for yourself? Great! Take the next step and apply. A well-written application is your best chance to catch the interest of the organization you wish to support. Have your CV ready. Many organizations ask you to upload your CV along with your application. Once you have created your first application, you can use it as a basis for your next one. Have a bit of patience, because the selection process may take a few days or weeks. The organization that posted the opportunity you applied to will review all applications. If you are shortlisted, they might contact you for a test or interview, or they might already tell you that you have been selected. In this case, congratulations! You are now an online volunteer. If you don't hear from the organization at all, you may want to contact them and ask for an update. And if you are not selected, don't worry. There will be other opportunities that require your skills and experience. Collaborating online should be an enjoyable and enriching experience for both you and the organization you support. The organization counts on your commitment and professionalism to complete the task at hand. A key ingredient for success is clear, prompt, and appropriate communication. This is true up until the end of your collaboration, when you and the organization are asked to give feedback to each other. Only once you have both submitted your respective feedback forms, the organization can generate the certificate of appreciation to confirm your contribution to its work. This certificate and the record of all your achievements are in your online volunteering account and show that you have changed the world through online volunteering.
So dear audience, something I want to add about the certificate is, after receiving your UNV online volunteer certificate, as you know, you can use this certificate during your job applications to UN Volunteers program, because we consider that as an experience, a valid experience for your professional career, And so online volunteering is going to be in detail presented to you by my colleague from UNV, as I mentioned in the beginning. I will now move to the next slide about volunteers for the SDGs. But maybe just before coming here, again, back to the question about the financial contribution and financial gain of UN volunteers and the volunteers. So as I said, the UN volunteer contract is different. Let's say it is a more ideal concept of a volunteering experience, because this is an experience that you gain some income as a result. Well, UN volunteers doesn't give that allowance according to your specialization, but it is given according to the time that you spend for the job that you are doing. So hence it is less than the, and then if you compare the allowance with the other UNV contracts, it is less than those. However, it is still a very, let's say, a holistic and contract type, which considers your well-being and your learning allowance and your health insurance and so on. With the volunteers themselves who work in civil society organizations, who devote their 2 hours a week, let's say, to an event, to a cause, are in some countries which has volunteer legal infrastructure, have also get paid, their health insurance are also covered. However, in many other countries which doesn't have any legal infrastructure for volunteerism, unfortunately, the rights of the volunteers are not very much secured. So what we advise to the governments as UN Volunteers Program is to make sure that the health insurance, at least, of the volunteers are covered by the institution that they are spending their, allocating their time with. Now with the SDGs, well, we all know that volunteers are the drivers of the change, and they are instrumental in achieving the 2030 agenda, without need to say. And the traditional means of implementation also has been shifted with the SDGs, comparing to the MDGs, the Millennium Developing Goals. And now there is more participatory approach is encouraged by the governments, by UN, and by all actors to reach the 2030 agenda. It is also explained in the SWVR, the State of World Volunteerism report, that volunteerism is a fundamental resource for resilience under 2030 agenda. And when we look to address the resilience challenges, especially, this is the only way to engage to the furthest behind left. So when we say leave no one behind, how we are going to do that? It's actually done through engagement of the citizens, and you can only do it through volunteerism. But of course, volunteering itself needs more investment and more support. A new resolution of UN General Assembly on the Plan of Action actually further seeks to deepen the commitment of governments and partners to continue to integrate volunteerism into the national strategies and plans. And I'm also very pleased to say that, to note here that Turkey is among the 124 countries that co-sponsor this resolution. But of course, we need more. We need an enabling environment for volunteer support initiatives. But with this COVID-19 period, we saw that actually the SDGs, in order to reach the SDGs, all the sources that tells us, to reach the SDGs are actually now forced to us through COVID-19. But of course, we can talk about this maybe during the Q&A about how the COVID affected the SDGs and not. I will now skip here and maybe discuss it during the Q&A session. But I want to put a question here for all of us, for us all, that what are the additional factors and initiatives that do you think is required beyond direct creation of volunteering opportunities through programs and projects? Like beyond policies and legislations on volunteering, what do you think encourages citizens to volunteer more to their communities? I would like to hear your responses on that. So, of course, as I said, UN volunteers, dear Karim, we are not receiving the questions now. I request you to keep your question for the Q&A session. And when we look to the UN volunteers and the SDGs, of course, we said that UN volunteers are, solutions are relevant to all SDGs. And you know, with more than now 8,000 volunteers, we are actually assisting the agencies. And this is this table shows which agency the volunteers are supporting the most among the 8,000 volunteers. Well, you know, what maybe we should underline now is that SDGs are no longer, you know, should not be seen as an aspirational set of goals for some distant future, but they are actually the minimum we need to secure a safer and more just and more sustainable world for us. And if all leaders across society attach the same level of importance and urgency to fight against poverty, hunger, climate change, which became more visible with the COVID now, we will find success in the decade of action on SDGs. Now, I will be sharing some best practices from UNV and also some UN volunteer real stories on action. This is a UN volunteers story from Nepal. They were in Nepal to provide assistance to the Nepalese after the earthquake. And but these you know, examples are important to give you a nutshell, an idea of what kind of tasks you can be doing by becoming a UN volunteer. This project is important because it also trained 200 community workers on how to assess damaged buildings, and also mobilized 3,000 additional volunteers to support the work to ensure that the whole, you know, so, you know, after the departure of UN volunteers, the 3,000 additional citizens being trained by UN volunteers continue to support its community. Another example from Burkina Faso, it's also important to highlight in here in this support of volunteers, they work on law on volunteerism to mobilize more than 13,000 youth. And very important to highlight that 66% of volunteers who were able to get decent paid jobs after following their volunteering experience with this, you know, with this project conducted in Burkina Faso. Another one from Uzbekistan. Many of the newly trained volunteers from this project are now in the database of Ministry of Health to support future rapid response to the healthcare challenges of the country. In this project, UN volunteers helped to train over almost 2,000 community volunteers in tuberculosis prevention efforts of Uzbekistan. Now, let's see our volunteers in action. We are looking now to Rehna Kauma, who is from Uganda, in Afghanistan. She gave support to livelihood knowledge to the local community members. And another volunteer, Mohammed, who is from Pakistan, was in Sierra Leone as a manager officer, information manager officer. Dr. Patrick from Nigeria, as a UN volunteer, worked in Liberia. And this picture is from a refugee camp in Lebanon. So UN volunteers here worked as teachers in Ramallah School in the Shalia Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon. And another one, again, UN volunteers were facilitating the community conversations on gender issues in Somalia. So these pictures are, you know, showcase what kind of jobs, support that you can provide to the community within your country or in another country. So now I would like to, you know, I started with Tapduk Emre, who is the religious mentor of Yunus Emre. And now I want to end my presentation with Yunus Emre. And Yunus Emre said that if you care about the world, then your problem will be as big as the world. So as we all know, in this journey of our lives, we are trying to identify what we are living for and what is our obligation to give back to the society. And you can do this, you can give back to society by becoming a UN volunteer, by being just an active citizen in your own neighborhood. During this COVID response, I'm sure there are many successful, inspiring stories among you guys, helping your neighbor and senior, in your community. So these are all important questions that we should be asking ourselves. What is the purpose of my life? Maybe just something that I can share with you is from my personal experience. When I asked this to myself, then after through some, like some doctrines from Sufism and so on, I came across with this sentence that actually what I owe to the society is what I already have as a skill. It can be as knowledge, it can be, financial, whatever I have, I owe to the society. I am responsible by giving that, because knowledge comes with a responsibility. If you don't share your knowledge, then it doesn't mean anything. So our responsibility is to give and is to share. And now, of course, we can talk more on these wisdoms, how, the importance of working together, the community engagement, the collective mind. We can, talk about all these. But I want to now give the floor to you for your questions, and then we can continue with more. And we have around, I think, 30 minutes to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nim. Before we proceed to the question and answer session, it's better to remind the participants of a few rules. But I would like to thank you once again for your in-depth, comprehensive analysis of what volunteerism is all about and the different procedures and requirements that we need to follow in order for us to become a UN volunteer. And you started off by mentioning how you're equating yourself to empathy, which was a very splendid and introduction, because nowadays we forget what empathy means, and the world is what it is now because human beings have forgotten the meaning of love. And we appreciate that you quoted this quote which said, "Without love, you're a dead man walking." And we are all in this search of a meaning in our life. What I want to just tell our fellow participants is, we as ICYF as well, we have past experiences in the field of volunteerism, and the best way to be effective in volunteerism is expecting nothing in return. As long as you have this sense of belonging, you want to help someone, just go and do it, and that's the most efficient way of doing it. I would like to just highlight few statistics you mentioned, which I didn't know. According to
Can I say something, Edith? You're doing so well. I don't want to interrupt it. I apologize. But since now you said that you want to give the facts about the numbers, maybe can I request, before you go into that, reminding the audience the numbers again. Let's conduct this questionnaire. I have 9 questions I want to raise, and then after we will continue with you. Is that okay?
It's okay with me. Then if for me it's fine, you can do that, and then we can head into the question and answer session. I will conclude later. There's no problem.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So for the first, I think there are a few participants who raised their hand.
Süleyman's support with sharing the questions.
I will answer the second question right now. You should be able to see now on your screens.
Yes, the questions are here. So the first question is, if you added up the work of all volunteers in the world, how many full-time workers would it be? Well, I was doing this, questionnaire with Kahoot, and it is, of course, really fun with Kahoot, and it also gives you a time. So you are running against the time. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it now. But let's say in total, to finish the questions, let's say like 6 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. because I will be also responding the answers. Unfortunately, according to the Süleyman, it seems like nobody has started. Is it true?
Now they are starting.
Yes, my name is Suleiman Ashuru from Nigeria. So my question is that how can you create a group of volunteers in your community?
Süleyman, sorry, not that Süleyman. We have two Süleymans here now, I guess. So now our colleague from ICYF, Süleyman, is supporting us to answer the questions. So I request you to first answer the questions. Is it okay? Then we will open for the Q&A. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, it happens.
Thank you. Süleyman, I was going to request you to not share the results now, but I think it is too late, right? It's okay.
Only hosts can see the results right now.
So now I see that the confusion with the 1 billion and 109 million. We are at the 48%, 46%. Come on, colleagues, friends, let's do it fast. I love this question that volunteering is only for people in rich countries, the GDP income. And
Mr. Mohammed, please, can you mute your mic for the moment, please? We'll get back to you. No problem. Thank you.
all right, we are coming to an end, 64%. You know, there is no naming and shaming, so just respond to questions as you wish. Of course, these are some of the myths, you know, and we all have stereotypes about volunteerism and volunteering. Okay. Very good, it's increasing. So now, I think for the last two questions, we still missing response. Thank you, Hamdi. Good. Leman is also done from Azerbaijan. Hello there, komşu. Hello to everyone. And I've been also looking to the questions and the comments being shared there. There are really amazing comments, and thank you so much for all your active participation. Okay, the last, we're at the 80%. So it's been already 5 minutes. Okay. Next time, let's try to put some maybe music or some style to feel the anxiety of this questionnaire. 83%. I believe also this is due to the internet connection of some of the participants now. That's why it is going slow. But now we all have an idea. So let's, after the 83%, the results are not going to make a huge change. When I look to the results already, they are not even to each other. So now let's continue with the questions and the answers. The first one, if you add up, as we said, the work of all volunteers in the world, how many full-time workers would it be? As we said, there is actually 1 billion volunteers estimated globally, and when you combine with the labor, it comes to 109 million volunteers. So the correct answer is more. Congratulations. The second one, real volunteering is done without any remuneration. Well, the definition of volunteering used by UN says that the primary motivation, of course, cannot be financial. That said, however, volunteers can receive allowances and the expenses and other types of cash in hand, in-kind remunerations, and so on. So that's why the answer is true, that this is without remuneration, but it doesn't mean that it will not happen. We also encourage. For the third question, most volunteering is done via non-profit organizations. That's true. It is above 70% of volunteers globally are considered as informal volunteers. And of course, from this angle, when we consider the volunteering estimates from our countries, for instance, the number of volunteering in Turkey is around 8% of the population. So you can see that it's very low. However, when you consider it is actually the majority is through informal volunteering. So it means that actually the numbers are most probably higher than that. And that's why we also encourage citizens to engage with the civil society organizations. The fourth question, the volunteering is only for people in rich countries. Of course, it's a big no, but there is not clear link between GDP and volunteering rates, that said. But on the other hand, we know that rates of volunteering rates are highly contextual and tend to be more related to culture and other factors other than the GDP. So women do more voluntary work than men globally, the fifth question. Again, it's true. At global level, women are more in volunteering work. And when it comes to informal volunteering, again, the numbers actually increase even higher. The sixth question, volunteering increases employment, especially in developing countries. Ooh, the tricky one. And the majority failed in this answer by answering true. Well, actually, it is false, because there is no robust evidence across the context to suggest that volunteering increases employability. It does not. However, volunteering can be particularly impactful on improving employability, because volunteering, again, let's go back to the definition and the meaning of the added value of volunteerism. It gives the individuals by volunteering gain useful skills in terms of career advancement. So furthermore, we can say that volunteering schemes can be designed in the countries in a way to help develop and promote new workforce that are need for labor market in each country. So the answer is false, but as we said, it gives skills. It helps volunteers to build up their skills to find better jobs. And the seventh question, volunteering has a positive impact on women's empowerment and gender equality. Again, another tricky question. Actually, the answer for this one is not sure. We are also not sure as UN volunteers. This is a really very complex issue and there is no overall answer. And I would like to hear why many of the colleagues said true there. But many big claims are made here is about the role of volunteering in furthering inclusion and gender equality for 2030 agenda. Of course, women, by taking a step in their society, also have chance to share their voice for their community. So that the real truth is that wherever the initiatives and programs are specifically designed, they can absolutely contribute to women's empowerment and gender equality, but it will not happen automatically. So volunteering reflects people's social status and access to opportunities and reinforce inequalities. But it doesn't directly, we can say that it has a positive impact on women's empowerment and gender equality. Because on gender equality, maybe I can also emphasize, this just came to my mind, there's also a tendency for, among the societies, especially in the LDCs, in the least developed countries, that volunteering is for ones who don't have anything to do in life. For, it's just like if you have enough time, you can do volunteering. And of course, it's a small, you don't need many big skills to become a volunteer, So, and that's why it also brings out the stereotype that women have less skilled in the society. So it is for women to do volunteering, not for men. Man is the one who brings, in Turkish we say bread, money to home. So that's why it is mostly for women to do. So it also, creates actually a bigger dilemma and bigger inequalities for gender equality. We can talk on this further if it's needed. 8th question, volunteerism was included in global framework and processes for the first time under 2030 agenda. Again, the answer is actually false, because volunteerism is indeed included in the UN resolutions, but volunteering is included in global development frameworks, priorities and resolutions. For example, volunteers are mentioned in many documents like Sendai framework. And UNV also facilitate resolutions for the humanitarian assistance. Now, the last question, out of 46 UN member states that presented their national progress reports on SDGs this year, how many countries mentioned volunteerism? And the answer is, well, of course, you made a guess, and it is fair enough. It is over 60%. Every year, dear volunteers, every year countries have the opportunity to showcase their volunteer efforts in their countries, and we call this a national review reports, volunteer national review reports, and it showcased the SDG progress. And in 2018, 46 countries choose to present their results. And 2019, the numbers have increased. And this is just an additional information for all of you to follow up the UN jargon, and also to follow your country, whether they are supporting volunteers or whether they are sharing their country results in relation to the SDGs or not. So we came to an end of the survey. Thank you so much for your patience, for your contributions. And now we can open for the Q&A. And actually, Edip, the floor is yours now. Over.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Let's proceed to the Q&A session. For those of you who are witnessing connection or internet issues, just kindly write to me personally so that I can read your questions. The rest, if you can raise your hand, I'll just raise your hand. I'll hand over the mic to you, and you could ask your question. I'll do my best to do justice to each and every one of you so that your questions could be heard and answered by our trainer, inshallah. So I would like to call upon, I think this is Farouk Abbas. Yes, please, Mr. Farouk from Pakistan, you have the floor for the first.
Hello, everybody. I am Farouk Abbas Dorani. First of all, I want to say congratulations to all the team of ICYF for the successful organization of your first session. But my question here is from Miss that, as she mentioned in her speech that after completing your graduation, you can become a part of UN volunteer. So I want to ask that, is it possible if we are currently enrolled in university for our bachelor program and for some of our spare time, if we want to serve as a volunteer, is it possible? Thank you so much.
Ms. Neil, was the question clear?
Yes, I think it was clear. If it's missing, I will request your help. UN volunteer contract type is different than the volunteer contracts, as I mentioned. You need to become a full-time staff personnel of the UN agency. So it means from 9 a.m. till 5:30, 6 p.m. until COB, you have to be in the office or in your community, but it is a full-time job. Except it is different for the community volunteers. If you want to become a community volunteer, you can also have a part-time, you can also become a part-time UNV. But for the remaining modalities, it's a full-time responsibility. And also, if you carry a UN volunteer contract, it means that you should not be carrying another job beside that contract.
Thank you very much, Ms. Seal. I just want to remind the participants, just be precise and just go straight to the point since we're running out of time. So I'd like to call upon Abdulatif Lawal to please take the floor and ask your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So my question goes, you talk about UNV volunteering, that once someone apply, registered, then someone can move forward to applying. Actually, earlier this year, around in January, I registered in the UNV portal, but I was instructed that I should hold on, that once there is any job, any UN job that matches my should I call it credentials or my information, I will be contacted. So should I keep waiting, or do I have to go through the process you just mentioned? That is my question.
Very good question. Thank you so much. Well, the system itself is it's a live system, and it is automatically also matches the need of the UN agency and the UNV candidate. So that's set aside. That will ongoing. But in the meanwhile, please continue searching for the job, vacancies, and continue applying. So don't wait only for the UN system to match you with the required vacancy. And one trick here, maybe I can share with all the interested parties, make sure that your profile is always up to date. If you fill your profile and don't open it after 1 year, the UN volunteers headquarters will not most probably reach you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to go to the third person. I think he raised his hand, Mr. Yaya Jama from Burkina Faso. The stage is yours, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My talk is not a question, it's a short contribution. So what I would like to add to what Mrs. Neil said is for young people, because I've been engaged in volunteerism for around 10 years since the high school level, what I would like to add is what you need to know, volunteerism is not about really receiving salary. And sometimes you may have your friends who will not encourage you because they will tell you that you are wasting your time. So you need to know that it is not a waste of time. You must know what you are looking for, because with volunteerism, you can improve the quality of your CV, and that can help you in the future for your professional career. This is what I would like to add. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your contribution. You put it much better than I did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Let's try to create some balance. I think
yes.
the male have been asking questions. So I would like to give the floor to Miss Harita from Nigeria. Please, you have the floor. Miss Harita, are you with us? I don't think she's with us.
Hello.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay, so my question is with regards to the United Nations volunteer. There is the online aspect. I saw it there. That's during the screen display. that there is the online volunteerism. Like, okay, from Nigeria, I can decide to become a volunteer for that initiative. Is that correct?
Just to make sure that I understood you correctly, you ask if you can be an online volunteering from your country to another country. Is this what you ask?
For the UN volunteer initiative, I saw it in the screen you shared that I saw an aspect that actually said there is OV, online volunteer, which is regardless of where you're from.
Yes.
So my question with regards to that aspect is, okay, if, for example, I get selected, for example, I apply for that section and I get selected, is it also going to demand me to actually give a full-time participation to that volunteer?
Well, it depends on the application that you apply to on online volunteering platform. Some of them may require you may just need to allocate your two hours a day, 2 hours a week. It depends on the as I said, what's been posted on the online volunteering platform, because they also post with deadlines. When they ask for the volunteers, they also give deadlines that this task needs to be finished in 1 week. So it's all up to you how to finish that or not.
Okay.
I hope I heard you correctly. And yes, okay.
I actually, there is time allocation, depends on the timing I submit, right?
It depends on the deadline given by the subline. And just to give you information on online volunteering, you will have a full session on online volunteering, I think on Wednesday. Am I right? If I'm not mistaken. So you will have a full session on online volunteering, and you will be also able to see how many new posts being shared there due to COVID-19 response.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just little information to add. Yeah, we are going to have a full session on effective online volunteering on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jaren. Let's move on to the next question. I would like to call upon Mr. Ali Hassan, please. Mr. Ali Hassan, are you with us?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Neil and Mr. Edi Ahmed, if I'm not wrong.
You're welcome.
Okay, my question is to Ms. Neil. As we know, volunteers are the first liners in pandemic and humanitarian crisis. So they got no recognition from the governments. I want to ask what role UN is playing to get those volunteers recognition from their governments.
All right. So what does UN do to support the volunteers receive a recognition by their government? Is this a question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, of course, the response, the COVID-19 response of UN is like this, has become our daily job. It, of course, besides of what our mandate, we're also shifted our mandate to COVID response as a priority. You are seeing, of course, WHO as the leading agency, but all UN agencies' mandate has been prioritized for COVID-19 according to COVID-19. And what does UN do besides their ongoing response to the development assistance for the 23rd agenda? We are also deploying UN volunteers, mainly focused on COVID-19 response of different UN agencies. For instance, we just have a new vacancy for a national UN volunteer, a Turkish volunteer to support UNFPA on communication response and mapping of youth engagement in COVID-19. So this is one aspect that we are doing as UN volunteers. Mobilizing more volunteers for the COVID-19 response. But beside this, as UN Volunteer Turkey Field Unit, what I am doing is I am collecting the stories from the field, what civil society organizations and what volunteers are doing. And I'm trying to do a mapping of this exercise and share this with the government of Turkey, so that government, first of all, of course, will have an acknowledgement of what is coming on the grass, the strong support of the grassroots organizations and citizens. And at the same time, through this mapping engagement, I'm hoping the government to support the civil society organizations in where they are missing support, where they need assistance. So, you know, this is a process for a joint effort. We also that civil society organizations, citizens, governments, NGOs, I mean, we cannot do this alone. So as UNV, we are also doing a mapping and sharing the results of the grassroots organizations with the government.
Thank you so much, Ms. Neil.
In here, I want to add something that just how it is important, the civil society organizations or social enterprises, like we didn't have chance, of course, to talk about social enterprises, but it is a very important aspect. And this is a new way of life, a new way of, let's say, job opportunities. We need to understand that it is the social enterprises and civil society organizations are actually the ones who come up with the solutions before the governments, because they are the ones who are closer to the field. And after that, actually, the governments come with the new policies and strategies to come to, you know, bring solution to the need. So it is very important to give a voice to the civil society organizations always in our countries.
Thank you so much, Ms. Neil. I think we have like 6 more questions. I can see it from my screen. So I would like to go on the next question. I don't know if it's a she or he, but Mr. or Mrs. Rabia Ilyas from Pakistan, please. Sorry about the confusion, but...
Hello everyone, this is a she.
Oh, it's a she.
My question is for Ms. Neil. As she mentioned that UNV has a learning allowance for them. So what kind of activities we can opt for as UNV that could be included in learning allowance?
I didn't understand your question, Rabia.
You mentioned that UNVs have learning allowances allotted for them.
Yeah.
So what kind of activities are covered by that learning allowance?
All right. By the way, I think in my presentation, I didn't share, yes, it is something that I missed sharing with you. But about the learning allowance, you said what kind of trainings you can get with the learning allowance?
Yes, what kind of activities are included in learning allowance?
So the learning allowance is given with your UNV contract. And after also, you know, taking the approval and guidance of your supervisor, the trainings that the learning allowance covers everything except your school fees. So you can learn new language with your learning allowance. You can, you know, improve yourself in anything that is, do you think, related with your career or related with your ongoing job, you know, vacancy with the UN agency. So anything except your school fees.
Okay. So,
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So for those who are sending me their questions on the private box, I will read out your questions shortly. Let me finish with those who raised their hands, and inshallah, I'll read out your questions. So please, the next question goes to Esnarella Salem. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi.
My concern is mostly on the security of the volunteers. So I wanted to ask, are there measures to protect the volunteers, especially those who are working on the ground, especially coming from the UN side? Thank you.
I wasn't able to hear you, Esnaira. You said you have a concern about?
The protection, security of the volunteers on ground.
Yes, yes. You mean the UN volunteers or just the volunteers? Both?
No. I mean, like, they're working on the ground, like what are measures to protect volunteers?
I think I'll try to respond to your question as much as I understood you. I think I heard you. Please feel free to, you know, jump in and correct. Well, the security aspect of volunteers is, of course, a very important issue. And that's why, as UN Volunteers Program, we are also advising and assisting and let's say advocating with the member states to develop a volunteer scheme in their countries, because volunteer scheme also means a legal environment, an enabling environment for volunteers' rights as well. You know, as I said in my presentation, the health insurance, the security of volunteers should be covered by the you know, either the institution that they are working with or by the government.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question will go to Karim from Qatar and Egypt. I think the person is Egyptian or...
Yes, Qatar Egyptian. So I'm Egyptian and live in Qatar. So thank you. I would like just to think quickly. Volunteering for me and what I believe is to stand up and to give something and to give the initiative when others don't. And let's call that volunteering is the zakat for our knowledge, our experiences, or the things we got, or the things we learned. And we need to give it for those who in need to those experience and knowledge and things we have. And our value, not in what we have, our value in what we contribute and what we give. So we need volunteering more than others need it. We need volunteering so we can feel our value when we contribute, when we help, and when we give to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a very meaningful comment. It is about giving. And I also ask myself, you know, and I think, I'm sure you're also asking yourselves, we all give and we all take, right, in life? I mean, this is normal. We all take and we all give. But I'm asking myself, am I mostly taking or am I mostly giving? And I think this is a very meaningful question that we should be reminding ourselves. Which stage are you at? And I always prefer to be at the giver side.
Hello? Miss... Okay, she finished.
Oh, yeah, sorry, over, yes, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. We are receiving a lot of questions at the same time. They are telling me to soon wrap up. But before I'll give the floor to few of you, I'll try as much as to do justice, but we need to wrap up the session in maximum 10 minutes. So Ms. Neil, let me just read these questions that I received before I give the floor to our other participants. The first question is, could you give us more information about the volunteering branch in Istanbul? What kind of activities are they involved? This is from Mr. Shafiq. The second question is it possible for a youth organization to have a partnership with UNV or other organizations through ICYF? This is James from Ghana. And the last one is, my question is, how can we get to create a mini volunteering group in our locality? Yeah, these are the three questions. Should I repeat them?
No, I took my notes.
All right, thank you.
So the Shafiq's question is a very well understood question, that he wants to live in Istanbul, like many of us. Well, there are the volunteer branch in Istanbul. So we have an Istanbul regional hub that's based in Istanbul, and it has different UN agencies offices there. And we also have a UNV office in Istanbul. You can, well, you can do any kind of jobs. You know, you just need to follow the vacancies for Istanbul and apply. And the jobs variety is you know, large, because since it's a regional office, the tasks, the jobs of the UNVs in Istanbul Regional Hub is not only covering Turkey, but the region. So it is a wider perspective that you can gain through that opportunity. Is it a well answered response, Shafiq? Yeah, okay, I don't know, just I'm checking the chat box, so you can write there. The second question about the youth organizations, the question I think came from James. Whether youth organization via ICYF can do a joint projects, engagements, partnership with UN volunteers. Of course, it is possible. UN volunteers are doing coordination, partnership with partners globally. So of course there is a chance, and you can maybe write me separately, and I can try to put you in contact with the focal point in Ghana. Maybe you can, continue from there. You can take it on from there. The third question was, I think, how to initiate a mini volunteering group. Yeah.
In our locality, yes.
Okay, so, well, it is, first of all, I think you are almost there, because you are at the stage of considering it. It means that you will establish that very soon. Some tips, make sure that, actually you can also share, maybe give me more information on what type of volunteering activity that you want to initiate in your country. Make sure that your target group, or let's say the solution that you want to come up with, can also be maybe considered or established by other institutions or other groups in your neighborhood, in your area. So first, try to find those and see that, and try to get in contact with them, because it's always important to learn from others' experience. And so this would be my first advice. Second advice is, be ready to, be ready to, well, okay, the first advice, as I said, definitely, get in contact with the agencies or institutions, volunteer group who done that before. You can maybe combine your powers together. If not, make sure that the people who are surrounded by you are in the same mentality with you, that you need to, come up with the same solutions. I'm not saying that the same way of only thinking. Of course, the different thinking brings different ideas. But what I'm saying is you need to have the same target. So that's important for the sustainability of your organization. As a third point, I can also say that be ready to long hours and long hours and long hours. That's part of the joy of our journey. It's not going to be easy, and that's why we love it, I think.
Thank you very much, Ms. Neil. I know I'm receiving a lot of questions. We cannot actually attend to all, but we'll definitely do justice to each and every one of you. You still have a long training session all through the week, so you could keep your questions and also ask our trainers later. But let me just take the last 3 questions and we'll wrap up the session. So I would like to call upon Mohammed Samira to please take the mic and ask your question, please.
Thank you for your good presentation. I am Mohammed Samira from Djibouti. I would like to ask you one question. In the UN volunteer opportunity, if I apply it, can I choose the country where I wanted to serve it, or they give the priority the citizen of that country that I applied it? Thank you.
Dear Idi, I request your support, please. Did you get the question?
Yes. Please, brother, can you repeat it a little bit much more slower? Because even me, I didn't understand the last.
Okay, I would like to ask you if in the UN volunteer opportunity, if I apply it, can I choose the country where I wanted to serve it or to work it, or do they give the priority the citizen of that country?
Okay, so Ms. Neil, did you get the question?
Yes, now I get the question. Mohammed, in the website that I shared, you can also pick the countries that you want to apply. So it is a given opportunity there. You can select according to your wish. But there's a big competition, let me put it that way. And if I were you, if you have the chance, I would keep it a bit wider than selecting few countries.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So the next question will go to Nermesh from Malaysia. Please, you have the floor.
Hello there. Good evening. I'm Nermesh. Thank you, Ms. Neil and Ms. Eddie, for this moderating session. Can you guys hear me?
A bit louder, please.
Can you guys hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, sure. So I have 2 questions actually. The first question would be, if I'm a World Health Organization volunteer, can I still become a UN volunteer? And secondly, can a person with limited disabilities or maybe with chronic health conditions become a UN volunteer? Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you so much. First question, as far as I understand, you are a volunteer yourself with WHO, not a UNV, but a volunteer. You're supporting UNV, I mean WHO. So if you want to become, and how are you providing that support? Is it an on-site volunteering or online?
It's both on-site and online.
Both on-site and online. That's
yes.
Are you from Malaysia? Am I?
Yes,
All right.
from Malaysia.
Okay, you can. Well, I mean, it is great that you're supporting WHO, so they know you and you know them. And if you want to work with WHO, of course, you have a big chance to be recruited by WHO because they're already working with you. So if I were you, I would raise this to their consideration that you want to be part of WHO as a UNV. And I'm sure that if there's a chance, if they have a budget, they will be opening an opportunity for you. So that's something that may happen. And with the online volunteering as well, you receive also certificate. So that's also considered as an experience. With the second question of PWD, UN Volunteers has a program called Talent Pool for the targeting people with disabilities. So, and also engaging with UN agencies at the global level, engaging some partnerships with UNDP at the headquarters level. So there is a talent pool for people with disability. And yes, if the the office space is eligible, is enough for people with disability to come and work, then it will happen, because UNV is supporting that, and UNV is also encouraging the UN agencies to build their office spaces accordingly, to be more feasible for the people with disability. So in the long run, we will be hearing more, seeing more, hopefully.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the last question of the day, because some of you are having iftar right now and I don't want to hold you on here. So I'll give the last question to Mr. Donfak Willie from Cameroon. You have the floor, please.
Good evening to each and everyone on board. I wish to ask a question. I wish to know if the UN is based in Cameroon. Are you people based in Cameroon? Because I've been applying to opportunities on your profile, on your website, but unfortunately I've never been selected. I wish to know if you're based in Cameroon, so much that I do work as a volunteer, as a community volunteer, UN community volunteer, as you said, in one of your proposals. Thank you.
Ms. Neil,
I'm saying that are you based in Cameroon? Are you based in Cameroon? Do you have a representative in Cameroon? If yes, please, can you share with me the contact number?
Yes, I will. Well, if there is an office in, I have to check it. But did you check it? Did you Google it? Like, do you know if there's an office or not?
I have not seen it. Not seen.
There is not.
I have not. I've not seen one. I've not seen one.
Okay, so but you did search, right? First, you did your own homework, and then you're asking this question, I believe. So
yeah.
Okay, so it means that there is no UNV office in Cameroon. So, but if there is, I will, search, and I will share it with the ICYF team, or you can write me your email address at the chat box, and if there's a focal point there, I will share the email with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
But let me also put it this way. Well, if there are sometimes the focal points in those countries, cannot do anything. It is just, it's not in their hand. If you are not being reached by the organization itself, then it means that you are not shortlisted, because your CV is probably not at the level for their expectation. It doesn't meet their expectation. So even, sharing the email address of that person, I mean, I just don't want you to have high expectations, because it's not in the hands of those people. Like, it's not in my hand in Turkey. If there is vacancies, I cannot do anything, because it's about the hosting agency and the UNV CV, whether they match or not. So Just I wanted to, flag this to your attention.
Thank you so much, very much, Ms. Neil. I know most of the participants still had a lot of questions, but we need to close the session, unfortunately. We need to take into consideration each and everyone's time zone, and some of them are breaking their fast now, some of them are at prayers. So we have come to the end of our program. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just inform you that the ICYF is an affiliated international organization to OIC, which is mandated to empower the youth in OIC member states and providing the youth with a platform in which they could express themselves. Given the current situation, as you all know, ICY has focused most of its activities on a virtual platform, and the forum has launched several activities, including online Islamic cultural heritage, Ramadan contest, youth ideation, online special talk edition by government officials and ministers, ambassadors. Please, for more information, please visit our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Ms. Neil, we have a tradition at ICYF to offer a token of appreciation to our guests, especially after such a brilliant exchange like these. But due to the current situation, we can only thank you through this virtual means of communication. And we really appreciate that you allocated your precious time for us. I think the participants are very satisfied, and I think they will get to know more of you and what you're doing. And I think most of them will get their questions answered. So on behalf of ICYF President and the General Secretary of ICYF, we express our gratitude to Ms. Neil for sacrificing her time for the benefit of this enriching discussion that allowed the participants to grasp an understanding of what volunteerism is all about. We hope to see you very soon again, Ms. Neil. I cannot finish my remarks without reiterating my deep gratitude to all the participants this evening, the Office of the United Nations Volunteers in Turkey, and also the technical staff of ICYF, Ms. Jaran and her team, Ms. Merve, Ms. Hilal, everyone who was heavily involved, whose commitment and personal involvement enabled this discussion to achieve its objectives. I would like to conclude by wishing you the best in your training course, dear participants. And also I would like to wish each and every one of you a good spiritual journey. The last few days is like, we need to maximize it. So may Allah accept our deeds and prayers, and we hope to see you in other circumstances. So Ms. Neil, do you have anything to say?
No. I mean, I just have to share my appreciation to ICYF for this amazing event and for their hard work. What they are doing is volunteering, a great example to a volunteering. And Idni, Ahmed, it was a privilege for me to meet with you. And under your moderation, it was a very, very, really fruitful journey also for me. You're a great example, and I hope our roads will cross again. And I apologize that you were about to share some of your reflections on my speech, and unfortunately I cut that. But I was really dying to learn also from you. So if there's a chance, I would like to hear that. I'm sure the participants also would like to hear that. And last but not least, you used two words. You said that sacrificing my time and my precious time. Well, these are not correct at all. It is becoming more precious if you know how to share it, if you share it. So I actually thank to all ICYF for giving me this opportunity for sharing my time with you, which has become more meaningful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Seal. But anyways, you said it all. I was just going to conclude, like, I liked the last part of your presentation in which you quoted, if you care about the world, then your problem will be as big as the world. And you asked the participants a very good question, which I always ask my colleagues or my friends or my students: what is the purpose of our life in this dunya? Because like you said, knowledge comes with responsibilities. We owe people this, whatever qualities that Allah has given us, we owe it to the community. So this was a very beautiful quote of yours, and I really appreciate that. So this was what I wanted to say in your presentation. So with that said, thank you very much. And inshallah, we'll meet very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.
Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Thank you.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
Thank you so much.